There we go. Finally. Hey, everybody. Prof Sales.
And Kaaren, hi.
Coming at you on a Friday afternoon. It's what did that meme we saw say? It said Friday I could kiss you or something like that, or
well, somebody said if Friday what?
Just
now I don't
off.
remember.
All right, so hopefully you guys are doing well out there. We are going to talk to you a little bit today about yard sale strategy. It is yard sale season.
Dun, 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 dun. It is officially yard sale season.
So let us know, guys, in the chat if you can hear us okay, if the sound is all right. I'm sure it is, but we always like to make sure. And how you feeling today?
Awesome. How are you feeling, Prof?
I'm feeling pretty good. It has been very windy here in Charlotte, so we feel like we're in the Wizard of Oz, like we're gonna get blown away. It has been crazy windy the last couple days, but we're still in Kansas, so we'll make do.
Dogs and cats living together.
I know. I was thinking about that today. It's like, what random movie reference could I say and see if people get it?
It's okay. I was thinking how we could do the smash it thing as Beavis and Butthead, but that sort of opens the door to all kind of other things too, doesn't it? Yeah.
So anyway, but how's everybody doing out there? Let us know in the chat how your day is going, how your week's been going. We're quarter of the way through April, almost, and man, it is flying by. This week has flown by. Somebody got the Ghostbusters reference. Nice, well done, well done.
Bonus points for Michelle.
That's what we should do, is a movie reference every week. So, but one quick programming note. So if you're looking for the show topic and you're watching right now, the show topic usually happens about 20 minutes into the show. So you can skip ahead and skip all this other nonsense if you want, if you think it's nonsense, or you can enjoy along with us, because we do have some other things to talk about before we get to the show topic.
But this is the fun part.
This is the fun part. And we got all kinds of people here in the room already. A couple shout outs.
Flipper Joe in the house, Ryan and Hank. Hey, Hank.
Admin, Large Bargains.
Oh, Lauren.
Michelle, Chrissy.
Chrissy.
I know. I was like, I couldn't say that. I'm like, it's Chrissy, dummy. I couldn't figure that out. Why can I not figure that out?
Yo-Yos.
Yo-Yos Afro. I like that. Nice. Fayetteville down there in what's Fayetteville? 3 hours from us? Maybe. Probably something like that. And Wendy there as well. Lisa's in the room. Lauren, as you mentioned, and some others. I'm sure we missed some people. So
Large said never skip ahead. Yeah, because you
never skip
know.
ahead.
You never know when there's going to be a test, right? And it's Friday. Right.
And if you fail, nothing happens, but you just failed. All right. So so let's talk about first topic up for discussion is the schedule. We shared a schedule on Monday, didn't we?
We did.
We didn't. Do we still have it? Yeah, we still have it here. It looks something like this. Dun, 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 dun. And we've been implementing that schedule all week. And the schedule, for those of you who didn't see the show on Monday, basically it breaks the day into 3 chunks: the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, and what we're doing in each one. And we have about 3 or 4 bullet point items in each area that we're doing during those chunks. And how do you think it's been going this week, the schedule?
It's been going. I mean, my observation is just because we write it down doesn't make it so.
That's true. But I think we've kind of done 90% of the schedule pretty well, maybe something like that.
Work stuff.
Which I think is pretty good for a first swing at it. You know?
Agreed.
Because anytime you change your routine up, guys, it's going to be a transition period, right? I mean, because you go from doing a bunch of things one way to now you're doing them a different way. And but we plan to hit sourcing Monday through Friday, which we did.
Yeah, and that was nice to sort. That helped with planning too, and getting out every day. And you know, a lot of those we make the loop to the post office and then stop somewhere and come back. And sticking to that part of our schedule in particular helped us a great deal because we got a good part of our sourcing done already. So
yeah,
we kind of had some nice. We'll talk about
that
later.
The next point. But yeah, I mean, that was Karen's idea to do some of it every day when we went out to the post office. And a couple of those days ended up being big trips where we spent quite a bit of time, and others were just a quick hitter. Like today we went to a store close to us, and we were only in there maybe, what, 20 minutes?
Oh, well.
If that long. Probably 20 minutes.
Yeah, at least, because we went through all the jeans again. So.
But we hit the sourcing each day, guys, which was cool. And we'll talk about our results from that in a moment. We did our morning stuff, our inspirational stuff, ate a good breakfast. We did our stretching, what, 3 of the 5 days? Was it only 2?
Mm-hmm. You led it one day. I led it one day.
I thought I led it 2 days. But anyway.
I was the stretch instructor one day. You were the stretch instructor the other day.
So we got to get better at that part.
Well, 2 is better than what it was. So
yes, 2 is better than 0, which is what we were doing.
From what it was.
Packing and shipping each day and dropping that off the post office. We were pretty much doing that anyway, but we tied that in with the sourcing because the sourcing we either did before or after we dropped off at the post office. Exercise right at lunchtime. No, not so good.
You want to count exercise as walking around while we're sourcing anyway?
Do you guys think that counts? If you're walking around sourcing, do you think that counts somewhat as exercise?
No.
We'll take a poll here, a very scientific poll of the chat room.
And my argument was, if you're a spin instructor and you go to work and you give 3 spin classes, so walking around sourcing is our job, and to exercise and get healthy, we have to go above and beyond that.
Large says it counts. All right, it's over. We're done. Poll 100%.
The poll is over. It has been closed.
Chrissy says nope to something else. Probably not even the question I just asked. Yo-Yo's counts it. Thrifty says it's better than sitting on your butt.
Heine, actually.
Heart rate has to get up. Well, okay. Walking is exercise. Walking is exercise. Let's be clear. I mean, it's clearly exercise, but you're not walking with much speed. You're not walking very far. And then some other people are disagreeing with something, but we're not gonna focus on.
Well, the Fitbit would count it as steps,
right?
But the Fitbit counts it when you clap. So if you clap your hands, the Fitbit's counting it as steps.
True.
It's not steps.
You can.
Wouldn't it be funny if that's the photo it picks for the video thingy?
All right. So moving on, we've done our 2 live shows, which is today and Monday. We did one kind of product video where we uploaded our equipment yesterday. By the way, thank you guys for pointing out there was a Visa card in the shot. It's a debit card that I got for buying, or I got it for a deal at Staples. I've used up all the money on it. It doesn't have any, it's not a credit card, so there's nothing to be gained. I think there's literally about 30 or 40 cents on it. So if somebody wants to rip me off for that.
It was an Easter egg. That's what it was.
Yep, knock yourself out. But thank you for everybody who's, hey, Prof, you left that in the shot, and I did. And then at night we had family time. We had some other calls and so on. I had a show on Tuesday night with Mary, who was awesome.
The one thing we did not do though is go to sleep on time. And we have to get better at that because it affects everybody in the house.
Yeah.
Everybody has to go to bed on time so that everybody gets up on time.
Right.
And there were nights, I think the basketball game,
that was Monday night.
Most of us went to sleep on time. Some of us did not, and it had an effect on the next day.
There's one day a year they have a national championship, and I wanted to watch it. Wasn't in my teams, but I still wanted to watch it. All right, so pretty good on the schedule overall, but we definitely have some room to improve in some areas. But I think it was a good first week to start. All right, so sourcing, we mentioned that. I think that's our next topic, right?
It is.
How do you think sourcing is going?
Sourcing is going phenomenally well. And we've got some theories on why it's going better for us right now. Our main targets are jeans, denim, as always. So that's shirts, skirts, shorts, jackets, and of course the long trouser type. And we're just finding that maybe we're hitting it at the right time. Sales wise are slow, but we've always talked about this being a time for us to bump up our inventory. But it just seems that in our area, people are really getting rid of some home run jeans for us.
They really are.
you know, we spend a lot of time, our big days are half off Salvation Army Day and going to the outlet here because we're, again, cost down, sale price up has really paid off for us this year. But we're finding that across the board, you know, we went to one Salvation Army this week. It's the first time we went to that particular one, and we got how many? 50?
50, yeah,
52 units, but 50 were jeans, right?
Yeah, or something. Yeah,
something like that. Crazy.
It was crazy.
And they weren't just, we hardly got any of our bread and butters, honestly.
It was all higher end. Well, not all, but it was a lot of higher end.
Hudson, Buckle. You always seem to find a cool pair of LRGs.
I like LRGs.
7 FAMs. I mean, just really higher for us. So that was amazing.
Right. I mean, it's interesting, guys, because there's a counterintuitive nature. I think Kaaren was touching on it when she said, you know, they're getting rid of stuff for spring and summer. Well, they're getting rid of, you know, their bigger, bulkier clothing, which right now probably won't sell quite as well just because of the mindset. But you know what, guys? It's going to be back to school in fall before you know it. I mean, it's crazy how quick seasons roll. So you almost have to be adept at, you know, buying stuff for the future. So we're even looking 6 months ahead and saying, all right, you know, in September and October, October is traditionally our busiest month for denim sales, we'll be much more prepared because we'll have a lot more items up. We're getting them now while we can. Some of them will sell between now and then, but a lot of them will sell in October and September and November. So you almost have to do it that way. So we only have 85 items left to buy this month, which I think is phenomenal.
Oh, and that counts this morning too.
That counts this morning.
Yeah.
Does it count this morning?
Because you said we had 100. So I think it would count.
Yeah, it did count this morning. So we have 85 left to go. That's theoretically 2 trips.
Well, at the rate we've been going, it sure is.
Right. So we could really, you know, just blitz that out. Like next week, I might just go and try to finish it off.
Without me? Well, good luck.
Who thinks I should finish off our sourcing next week without Kaaren when she's gone on her trip?
No. The better question is, who thinks you'll hit it out of the park without me? That's one.
It's probably going to be the only one.
But
it is a lot easier with you. A lot easier.
Didn't you post something on your Instagram? Something about your bestest sourcer?
Yeah, but I'm the second best, so I'm still pretty good.
But we didn't. You know, we did go to our outlet, and what did we get? Like 5 things. It was unbelievable. The outlet this week, it was hardly anything, right?
Yeah.
And then we had to go to the boutique to augment that. But then we show up at this Salvation Army of all places in wherever it's located. And well, I was going to make a reference to wearing.
Yeah.
But we show up there and you put up pictures of that as well. Like
Killed
the
it.
cart was like overflowing. It was unbelievable.
We had to get 2 carts, which is unusual. And some of you commented on that and you saw like the stacks we had of jeans. Yes, we did fold those. Because when you fold them kind of neatly, you can fit a lot more in a cart. If you just kind of throw them all in there, they get crazy. So that's why we did that. And plus, it enables us to count them because I always like to count when I hand them to the cashier to make sure they ring them up correctly because sometimes they don't. And they will ring you up for all kinds of wacky stuff. So
yeah, because we had a couple that were $1.99, and I'm really funny about that because time we went, they did.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you have to do that. So that's why we had them. You know, kind of put up, you know, nice and neat like that. So anyway, we'll see if I go next week or not. I got plenty here to list. I've got some other things I need to do.
I think you should go. I mean, why not? And then we'll go for real when I get back.
We'll go for real. The things I buy won't be real. They'll just be imaginary items. But speaking of that, Kaaren is leaving again. She is going out to work her second job, or is that your first job? That might be your first job.
My first love is here.
Well, I get that, but I'm talking about your job.
Oh, I don't know. It's the one that takes me away from here.
Kaaren is traveling very far away.
Seattle. There, I said it.
Basically.
Anybody from Seattle? There is this vegan festival going on out there. like in Seattle on
Sounds
the
gross.
Thursday that I'll be there. But the Nut Pods, anyway, the coffee creamer company that makes it out of nuts, they'll be there. I got an invitation. Anyway, it's going to be cool. So I'm going to kind of combine a couple of things while I'm out there.
When I think about vegans, all I can think is what? You don't know what I was going to say.
Well, I'm mindful because Hank and Lauren are both in the chat, and if you say something,
I have nothing against people who are vegans. I just don't like the concept of it. That's all. And there's a difference.
And what
doesn't mean the people who do it that there's anything wrong with it or they're bad people. It doesn't mean anything of the kind.
Well, what do you think about it then?
I think I like to eat animals sometimes.
Okay.
And eggs and whatever else I can't eat on the vegan diet, but whatever.
You're that kid that just wouldn't eat your vegetables.
That is me. I did not eat my vegetables, but anyway.
Hank is gonna get you.
I know it. Oh, that's interesting. Lauren's husband is a meat eater too. That must make for an interesting dinner sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm not a vegan. It's just through Whole30 we eat a lot more vegetables.
That's true. We do eat healthier, and I have no problem with that part of it. But we're omnivores. I think we're meant to eat both.
Yes, and chickens are omnivores. I taught you that.
We've learned that chickens eat meat too. Did anyone else know that? I mean, there's a random factoid, and I know that completely has nothing to do with this show. But
yeah, chickens
will eat meat.
Chickens that are fed an all vegan diet are not the healthiest chickens.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why everything tastes like chicken.
And then there's also all these other things about they shouldn't have hormones and antibiotics and this and that. And there's
that makes sense.
But some of those things, there's some untruth to that, and we get sort of duped as consumers. But that's another channel and topic for another show.
Hank says chickens will eat all kinds of stuff for real.
Like chickens eat other chickens, just saying.
Chicken's gonna chicken.
Chicken's gonna chicken.
Ground vultures. I like vultures.
Yeah. Oh, we do. We
My
love
favorite
vultures.
bird.
Yeah. Like
all right. That got off in like completely ridiculous.
As it always does. And we have 3 minutes to get all this nonsense rounded up. So we've covered I'm leaving. Everyone will hold your hand while I'm gone. I'm going to Seattle.
There will be shows next week.
Yes, the YouTube will go on without me. Sourcing might even attempt to go on without me as well. We'll see. Oh, but I'm wearing my official yard sale t-shirt.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So how many of you guys, just by a show of hands in the chat room, not that you can actually show a hand. Maybe you can. Maybe there's an emoji.
No, there's a little emoji hand.
Oh, I didn't know that. So if you want emoji size your response.
Did you just say emoji size?
I don't know.
I don't even think that's a real word. But
how many guys yard sale? And we last year we yard saled quite a bit for probably 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of died off in our area. There just weren't a lot of sales. The sales really start hitting in like the end of April or even middle of April, and then into May and the first week or two in June. And then once school's out, it was nothing, right? I mean, there were not many. But yard sales are a great way to pick up cheap items, to pick up high margin items, to pick up volume. Really, whatever model you want to do, just about, other than maybe wholesale and private label, and even that's not impossible. Yard sales are there for you. So we thought we would talk to you guys today about our yard sale strategy. Looks like a lot of people are raising their hands and thumbs and
and I was going to say that
chickens and whatever else they got.
Well, he did that because he's so clever. But I was going to say Florida yard sale heaven year round.
Right.
And we're kind of stuck in the middle. And then as you go up northeaster and northwester, and even as we go far west, maybe.
Do they sell gators at Florida yard sales?
Sometimes they do.
So we're going to talk about our strategery as well as some things we've learned. We actually have these bullet pointed in the show description. So if you can't remember them all, because it's we actually came up with quite a few things. We started doing this, so
you can follow along. Here we go.
So Kaaren, let's talk about prep. Getting ready for yard sales.
Getting ready for everything. You'll hear us talk about that a lot.
Sure.
You have to prepare, because what happens when we don't prepare?
We fail.
Yeah, there's that.
One of the things you need to do, guys, is you need to do research. You have to research what sales are around you. And they come, sometimes they're called yard sales, sometimes they're called garage sales, rummage sales, church sales. I mean, they have different names. And you can research different apps. There are yard sale apps. We like, what's the name of this one? I want to make sure I get the name right. We like one called Yard Sale Treasure Map, which I think pulls in all the Craigslist listings as well as some others.
And we like it because it shows everything. Like it's really intuitive, and it'll follow you. It'll GPS your position, and then little flaggies will come up, and you can highlight them.
Yep. Right, which we'll talk about because that ties into the second part of this is route planning. We also like an app called Gasalr, G-S-A-L-R. And that's an app you can get. I don't know if it's available for Android, but it's definitely available on iPhone. And those are two you can use right off the bat that will allow you to plan and see what's around you. You can tap on the sales once you put in, like, you know, your zip code or where you want to go. And you can tap on sales and see more about each sale. Like you can see their listing and so on.
Well, and with the yard sailor one, you can favorite them and it'll sort of keep it. And then you can use that to route your way.
Right.
And we also use, one of my favorites is the MapQuest mobile app. And I like it because you can use it if you're researching the addresses of your yard sales before you go out. You can use MapQuest effectively this way as well. But MapQuest has this wonderful ability for you to input several addresses, and it will route the best way to hit all of them and make a route for you. And I've researched route apps for other reasons. But this MapQuest, it's free, it's easy, and it's really, I think the highlight of the app for me is that once it routes it for you, and we did that when we do our out of town Goodwill, you know, adventures. We don't know. You can hold on the location and move it up in the ranks. Like you can totally control the order as well. So let it give its best shot at what's the best route for you. And then if it just visually looks like you want to maybe start here instead of there, or it makes more sense to go west first and then come back, you can easily move it around. So love that it's free, but MapQuest is awesome for both the yard sale routing as well as when you go on out of town sourcing adventures as well.
Right. And to Karen's point, you know, planning your route's important because, you know, you can waste a lot of time crisscrossing and driving back and forth if you don't. So it's better to plan the route the night before, even 2 days before. And a lot of people don't put their sales on necessarily until Friday or Thursday before a Saturday sale, or Wednesday or Thursday before a Friday sale. Some people have just Sunday sales, but you can find all different types for there. But usually in the end of the week, like right now, is when you really want to start planning that out. Some other things you need cash.
Which it just dawned on us after we made the list. We're sitting around and Jason, I hear him from the other room, which reminds me, we need to go get money.
Yard sales typically don't take debit cards or checks or credit cards.
And our window for that is starting to get smaller as the day goes by. So
if it's a church sale, that they might, or like a bigger sale that they, you know, an organization, they might take a debit or credit card, but I would not depend on it. Take cash and don't take hundreds, take smaller bills.
Oh yeah, we didn't put that, but that's important. Yeah, because if you play the different pockets in your hunting vest game, that's a whole nother sitcom reference. But if you do that, then you can't really, if you pull out a 10, you can't say, well, would you take 5 because I only have 5, you know, so have it where you do have smaller money. Right. That's really important.
Right. You also need a good night's sleep the night before. Why are you pointing at me?
Because.
Just because, guys, you're going to be up early. You need to be able to think. You need to be rested. All those things. So you need to try to find ways to get a good night's sleep.
Well, and in that prep, and we didn't mention, you also have to map it out based on what time they start. You know, for whatever, if it's a savvy yard sailor, they're going to start when the sun comes up. 7 a.m. is standard time at least, but you've got some places that are going to start earlier.
Right.
And then the dreaded, you know, newbie, for lack of better, yard sailor that wants to start at 9 or 10. It's so important. We've been out yard sailing before, and because we didn't research, you know, you're like, I'm like, oh, we can't go here. And you're like, what do you mean we can't go here? Well, they don't open until 10 o'clock.
Until 10 o'clock, and you're stuck.
Yeah.
So that's important. Somebody asked you, I'm going to answer one quick question here before we keep going. Jason asked, just because he's got the best name, that's why I'm going to answer his question. How do you get receipts from yard sales? Okay, this is what my CPA has told me. your best bet, if you're running this as a business, as a lot of people in this chat are, and maybe people watching, is you can create a petty cash fund, and you can keep track of that through your accountant or your accounting software if you're using that. And that's how you will buy things, and then just keep track manually of what you bought for inventory costs and so on. Because you're not going to get a receipt at most yard sales. But that petty cash can be used for it. Now, petty cash can't go crazy. You can't say everything is petty cash and use that to go pay all your, your house note or something like that. There's rules, but that's your best tip, I think, for that, or the best way to do it. All right, food and drink, I think we already mentioned, because there's not going to be food and drink necessarily at these yard sales, and you're not necessarily going to be going by places you can grab food and drink easily. You're going to be in a lot of neighborhoods. You're not necessarily going to be in commercial areas where there are restaurants and places like that, or convenience stores.
All right, so let's just be honest. Like, there is a competitive factor here, and I cannot possibly effectively grab all the thingies if I have to stop to go potty, if I have to stop for lunch, if I have paid a person $1. We didn't put this on the list, but I'm just going to get real for a second. I paid a person $1 once so I could use their bathroom.
True story.
True story. Because we were going. And it was this amazing, that was an amazing neighborhood yard sale. And we had to do what we had to do. And we can't take an hour to go for lunch, because if our window for yard sales is only, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
3-4 hours.
It's not long. The closer we get to noon, people are packing it in, packing it up, done, putting it out by the curb, right? So you have to kind of plan ahead for that. So bring snacks. For us, if one of us does not get a snack on a regular basis, it kind of affects. I'm not myself.
I need a Snickers.
It's this, right? You're just not yourself. So eat a Snickers. There you go. So that's important.
So food and drink, charged phones and chargers.
Yeah. And
don't forget that.
We're putting it on the list and reminding you. And I know that in this day and age, most people know better. But it's important, keep a charger in your car and then have one here in the house that just never leaves, because there's nothing worse than being out there and not having it.
You can even get the little packs, the little portable packs. That
allow the battery backups.
Right, allow you to take power with you, and they can charge your phone 3 or 4 times on one big charge. So there's all kinds of ways, because you might be out, you might not want to charge, you don't want to leave your car running or drain your battery, even though it doesn't really drain much of your battery.
And it sounds like a common sensey kind of thing, but I can tell you, we have been out and we've been doing this. Well, we've been adulting for a while, but we've been doing this for a while. And there have been times when our phones have died and we can't locate, we can't GPS where we need to go.
Right.
Our phones have died and we can't look up a comp on something. Hey, can I use your phone? We say to each other or something. So just, it's important. And in between, plug it in. Don't put yourself in a position where you're without gas in your car, money in your pocket.
Sure,
food.
Gas in your car. That's one we didn't note.
Oh, we didn't. But there you go, another one. Well, that's why I threw it in there, because it's important. But you need to have all those commonsensical things. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be at a disadvantage.
All right.
Plan ahead. That's the purpose of the line, the first section.
Absolutely. Then that kind of fills out the prep. Let's talk about execution.
Pew, pew.
So there's a couple things here on how you can execute what type of strategy you want to have. One strategy is you could just buy it all. If you go to a good yard sale that's got maybe 30% of it is stuff that you really want and the other 70% you don't, you could just offer to buy it all. And if you can get it for the price you would have paid for the 30% anyway, or maybe even a little cheaper, you win. And you might even find some things in the other stuff that'll work as well. That can happen, but that's kind of a tricky strategy for me, because there's very few yard sales I go to where there's no yard sale I'd go to where I'd want to buy it all. Like, I'd want it all, but if I could get a really good deal to get the X percentage that I did want, I guess I would do that. And if I said, hey, here's $200 for everything you got.
Right.
And I valued it at maybe 1,000 what I had seen. Maybe that's the number. I don't know.
Well, and you can kind of morph it. Like, maybe you morph that into the next one, which is bundle for discounts.
Right.
So, and let me use a real-time example for us. Like, when we had that first big yard sale here, we publicized it on Craigslist or something, I think, and somewhere else.
Right.
And we had people contact us the day before, and that's totally something you could do. And that would put you in a good position to grab all the thingies and offer to buy everything. But here's another thing. we had a large lot of video games. I think it was a bunch of PS2, like a couple hundred of them. And we had a fella show up, and to this day, I just still love this guy because he was so nice.
I think it was movies. It wasn't PS2.
Movies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was a bunch of whatevers.
DVDs.
Discs of some sort that played something. So this guy came and he was super nice about it, and he offered to buy all of them. And so we did it at a discount.
We gave him a deal, sure.
Like, I don't even remember what it was.
Probably gave him like half what we would have charged. It was pretty good.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if in our case, those were not reseller things. Those were probably life things that we just wanted to get rid of. They were taking up space, whatever. We wanted to move them on.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when you're selling books or DVDs or video games or whatever, and you're just selling them singularly, you're going to end up with some left over. And our goal, one of our goals, our main goals for those was we needed to get rid of them. We needed the space. So he came along, made us an offer. We had to take him up on it. So bundle for discounts, definitely another strategy.
Yeah, bundling, putting two or more items together so you can get a better deal.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was talking about, I think it might have been Hank, saying, buyouts are great, but it depends on if you have the space. Take the stuff that this is the thing, take the space or the stuff you just do not want, take it that day and donate it right away. It never even has to come to your house. You're still out yard selling, plan to hit, your local thrift store for donations right at the end, and just get rid of that stuff right off the bat. That way you never even have to bring it home. You don't have to clean it up. You don't have to put it in a box or on a shelf or sit in your garage for a week. Just get rid of it right then and you're done.
That's what we do. We've literally gone and gotten a big lot of stuff on, like the storage things.
Yeah.
You buy the whole pile, you grab all your thingies, and then you literally separate it right then. And we had a day of yard selling where we went to the donation at Goodwill first and then came home.
Right.
So there you go.
The other things we would say, guys, have anything else that's not out there, because sometimes they do, and they'll be willing to sell it to you just because you're already buying the other stuff. And I like this tip, and Kaaren said this one, is to stay discreet.
And we put a little note here that there's two different schools of thought on this. It might matter in your favor, and it might not go in your favor. And how many times and we'll just put it out there to the universe, how many times have you been at a yard sale? And I used to notice it a little bit in my peripheral before we were reselling, but I'm definitely sensitive to it now, where you've got the person with their phone out in the open, scanning or looking up this Beanie Baby or this book or whatever. Yeah, we've all done it, but some of us are a little bit more discreet than others. And I happen to think that in some instances, it's going to be to your detriment, because and it's a perception thing. Like if the person selling it thinks that you're buying it to make a profit instead of to take home their, beloved XYZ tchotchke to love and hug and squeeze yourself, then maybe they're not going to give you as good a deal. Right.
Let's talk about timing for a moment. At the beginning of the day, I think you probably have a better chance to get bundles and buy whole yard sales at once for a discount, because people are ready to make that money and just be done. They would love it if they open up their yard sale at 7 a.m. and you show up at 6:50 a.m. and buy it all, and they can go back inside by 7:10. They're done. Like their yard sale day is done. They made their money. They're good. At the end of the day, I think is when you've got a possibility for liquidation, or even offer like junk removal at that point. They've got a bunch of stuff left. Maybe there's some stuff there you can make some money on if you can get for really cheap. Maybe there's even a few good items other pickers or buyers missed, and you can offer to just liquidate it for them. Again, you can take that, I want to buy the wholesale approach. What would you take for all of it? And you'd be surprised what people will let stuff go for. Like they're thinking, I've still got 100 items sitting in my driveway and I don't want to take them back inside. And here's this guy saying he's going to give me $25 for all of it. And it's gone. I don't have to take it back inside. That's worth it. You're almost providing a junk removal service to that part. So you just, you can kind of think about the timing in terms of bundling for getting it all at the beginning or getting it all at the end, but there's two different mindsets there. So you got to remember what time of day you're at, which kind of brings us to types of sellers, Kaaren.
there are different types of sellers. And I just touched on one. And we should have had like little costumes for this part. But there is the emotionally attached seller.
They love their items.
They just love their whatever.
I really love this pad of Post-it notes. You don't understand. I wrote a note to my friend who had to move far away to Uganda. And now I think about them every time I look at this pad of Post-it notes. And I think this pad of Post-it notes, even though it's halfway used, is worth $50. Sorry, that was a weird example. That's all I got.
I didn't even know where you were going with that. But yeah, so for whatever reason, and these are people that probably don't really want to sell it in the first place. Like I've learned, especially since knowing you, to sort of let go of the emotion. But yeah, so emotionally attached people are not really going to be very agreeable to wheel a deal, let's say. And while we respect that they've put this attachment to their item, just know that you might be dealing with that, and there's no amount of reseller or poker savvy that's going to change that.
There's no reason for you to get emotional about it. Because it's just an item for you, or items for you to buy and resell, and you're trying to make a smart business decision, and you don't need to talk them out of it, guys. They're not going to sell it for the price you want because they're emotionally attached. Move on. It's just really that simple. There's no reason to stand there and argue. There's other sales. So there's also the types of sellers who just want to get rid of it.
We like the get rid of iters.
Because they're ready to wheel and deal, and those are great. Those people, and you can tell them because they'll say certain things like, yeah, it's just so much junk. I've been holding on to this forever. It's been taking up all this room in the garage, or this room or that room. It's just stuff I haven't used in forever. I mean, all those are like catchphrases and things you can listen for that if you hear them, they just want to get rid of it. Or whatever I don't sell, I'm taking to the dump, or I'm taking to donate, I'm taking to Goodwill. Those are people who want to get rid of it. Those are people you can make deals with to get it all, or to get a big chunk of it.
Well, and you kind of touched on it, and I think that Yvonne could probably give some words of support of this in the chat. All the poker players out there. I think that some people, poker players in particular, and we talked about this morning, you're used to looking for certain tells with people, certain, pay attention to body language, things they say, how they say it. And I think that if you pay attention, if you're less about what you have to say and more about taking in what the seller is giving back to you, that's half the battle. Like if you can know where that person's coming from and be able to pinpoint which one of these, and some of them are easier to tell. I think that's really important. And you just really touched on that, like the get rid of it person and what they're going to say. And those are our favorites, right?
Right.
Because we're, they really want to get rid of it, and we really want to give them, less of our money, but we want to take it off their hands.
Because the get rid of it person, you might be able to make an offer for all of it or a big chunk of it. The emotionally attached person, you're probably better moving on. Because you're not going to get them to get rid of things because they're attached to it. And they're going to either want a ridiculous price, or they'll say things like, I'm not even sure I want to sell it. I mean, sometimes it's somebody playing a game with you, but it's a dumb game because I've got money and I'm looking to buy. And if you're saying you don't want to sell it, you probably shouldn't have put it in your driveway.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm ready to just move on from you and your nonsense either way.
Oh, and then the next one.
Junk sellers.
The junk seller. And the junk seller you're going to know as soon as you walk up. And I thought of one in particular from last year when we were making this list where, Susie and Bob over here put an ad in the paper. They put up signs. They did all of their work to promote their yard sale. You wake up and you're like, the junk seller neighbor is like, oh, let me see what I can throw out there.
Let me throw this box of old newspapers out and see if somebody will want them. What? And
this particular guy that we came up on, I think he was like literally a serial junk seller. Like he had boxes of this and, books from, missing pages, and it was just a bunch of crap, right?
Right.
And in that instance, we ended up with that one box of stuff. I think we gave him like $7 for $7 for a box of stuff. No.
Yeah, $7 for
$7 for a box of stuff. And we actually we made our money more than back, but then everything else was
Yeah,
yuck.
it was only like 2 items we made. We probably netted about $75 off of that box. And that's all I really saw and needed. And the rest of it was just crap.
So, you know, the junk, even though the junk seller, you're going to be able to recognize from a mile away, if you've got the time and the patience, there could still be some good home runs in there.
Yep.
You just have to be diligent and go through, you know, kiss a lot of frogs, so to speak,
right,
in that particular yard.
And then our last type of seller is my personal favorite, the overpriced seller. Now, this person is not necessarily emotional. They're just overpriced.
They're just delusional.
They've gone online. You'll see them. They're the ones who have like the eBay listing printed out and on the item.
God, what is up with that?
You know, or they've got it in a special display case out on their driveway, you know, on a table. This person really thinks that a yard sale is a retail sale. And you're always, I'm not going to say I'm going to walk away from this person, because you still could make money if you can get, I would probably go the bulk route with them and try to get many items at once to try to get a better discount. Because on individual items, like for instance, you know, let's say that they're selling, I don't have a great idea. They're selling, you know, this little calculator from CompuSessory. This is probably like a, I don't know, $10 calculator. And they're going to put in their driveway and say they want $15 for it. Well, new, it's like that. They're saying, yeah, but it's like new. And I saw some of them sell on Amazon for $8.50. So you're getting a deal. Well, no, you're not getting a deal, because selling on Amazon and eBay are more expensive. And I have guarantees that if it doesn't work, I can get my money back. I don't have a guarantee if you sell this to me out of your garage. I have no guarantee. I don't know if it'll work. It might break tomorrow. There might be something I can't see. Who knows? But this person, they're really tough to make deals with, I think. And you'll know them because they'll be significantly higher. Like, you know, you go to a lot of yard sales and people want $1 per clothing item. This will be the person who wants 10. You know, they want $10. I had a guy last year. He was selling polo shirts, or might have been the year before that. He had a bunch of Ralph Lauren, just short sleeve polo shirts, nothing special, stuff you'd pick up for, you know, $4 at Goodwill all day long. And you could probably flip them for $20 each. You know, they were nice little shirts, but nothing great. And he wanted like $30 for 4 of them, which I didn't want to pay that much. And I offered him like 15 at first. He's like, no, I can't do that. They're so nice and blah, 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 blah. And finally I went all the way up to 20, because there was one that was a little nicer than the others. I thought maybe I might get $30 for it. And he was saying, no, I still can't. And I'm like, all right, well, if you want me to walk away over $5, I will walk away. And then finally he did it for the price I wanted. Because I laid it out for him. It's like, you're being ridiculous. You're throwing away, you know, $20 for $5. You've almost got to approach it that way with some people. But I did bundle. I got the shirts. I think I've sold all of them since then. And they all sold. You know, I probably made a little more than double my money. So whatever. I mean, it was okay. Nothing great. But I was already there and there was nothing else to sell. But the overpriced seller guys, they can be a tough nut to crack, because they're just convinced that what they've kept in their garage and has dust on it, and they don't even know if it still works, or it's got a crack in it, but that's no big deal because other ones do. They're convinced it's worth what they see on Amazon and eBay or anywhere else. And
Well,
that's tough to overcome.
Well, then if they're convinced, they should be selling it on eBay or Amazon, quite honestly.
Right.
And it's not always going to be as obvious as they have the printout. I can't tell you how many times we've walked up on a yard sale and there's the eBay printout. And, you know, it's all I can do not to say, well, did you comp solds and completeds, or you just printed that because that's one that's, you know, I'm not going to get anywhere with that.
No, because they don't even know what they're printing a lot of times.
But if it's a hard, like clothing, maybe not. But if it's something hard goody that you think you might want to still take a stab at,
right?
Nothing says you can't leave your phone number.
Right.
Like,
somebody was talking about that. Right.
Oh, did they talk about it in the chat?
Their card. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you have a reseller card, or maybe it doesn't say whatever, but you can definitely leave your contact info. We've done that a couple of times. And even on a sale where there's a lot of things where you think you might have some opportunity there, maybe not just that one particular big item, But you can just leave your card and say, call me when you're done, and maybe we can help you get rid of whatever's left.
Guys, I mean, all these strategies are designed to do one thing. They're designed to minimize the amount of time you spend to maximize your profit.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, guys, if you go to a yard sale, you might go to 10 in a row and buy nothing. It can happen. Mm-hmm. And you might start thinking, oh, I got to buy something this next one. Not spending money is still a profitable decision if you can't make profit on it. Mm-hmm. So don't look at it that way. If you have to walk away from yard sale after yard sale after yard sale, like that day last year when we hit that record, how many did we go to that day? We counted.
What? The
one day we just blitzed and went to.
Was it?
It was like 50 some. It was literally 50 some because we went to a couple community sales. They had multiple houses in the communities, but we literally stopped at over 50 homes by like 11:15.
You were so mad at me that day.
Why was I mad at you?
Because you didn't have your Snickers bar.
Oh, I didn't. I was out of food and we weren't close to any. And we were like, we still had a bunch to go. And I'm like, oh, I'm just hating this. I'm hungry and I can't even focus. And so we literally hit over 50. But of those 50 houses we hit, I doubt we bought from 10.
Yeah, that's about accurate.
Maybe 10, 8 or 10. So the majority, 80% of them, we didn't buy anything. And that's not that uncommon. And I don't remember what our strategy was for what exactly we were looking for those days, and you got near the end, there was a few times that we would go and there'd be like 6 houses, in a circle, a cul-de-sac, and you would buy nothing in any of them. Because you got to be disciplined about it and say, all right, there's nothing here that's really meeting my criteria. Or I don't want to put in the time and energy to this set of products to deal with it. So, just walk away. That's always a profitable decision. If you don't buy stuff that's not really worth it or hitting your numbers, that's still a good decision.
I sense some prof math coming on. So we're trying to maximize our time, right? So we will go in opposite directions, right? You on one side, me on the other. We'd like to park once and go from there. And then, when we can find these bigger church sales, neighborhood sales, anything where you've got more opportunity in one spot, you're going to maximize. I think it's a numbers thing. The more you visit, the more you can potentially pick up.
Right. Exactly. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, that was
that's it.
Yeah, we already had that. Plenty of time we already covered that part.
Yeah, we kind of did.
So Q&A is, well, it's already been opened up. We got about 12 minutes left. So if you got questions about yard selling or really anything else, type the word question, type question marks in front of the question so we can see it. We got about 70 people watching, so thank you for that. We haven't asked them to do anything, those 70 people, have we, Kaaren?
No, if you like what you see, smash the like button.
That one has not been here for a while.
No,
pirate.
It hasn't. Arr. It's like Pirate meets Popeye meets It's Friday.
It's Friday.
But the last thing that we said we'd already covered. So you have to plan time for all these things, right? We don't want you to get in the habit, good habits from the start. So acquire, when you grab all your thingies, channel that into listing, selling, donating, or tossing your thingies. Don't make these big piles and create this area of stress in your life where you're not following through on your business and your profitability.
Yvonne asked a question, says, how about the garage seller that says, I'd rather throw it away than sell it cheap? I would give one of two responses. One, I would say, I'll take it for free from you then. Or two, let me know what time you're going to put out your garbage. I would do that. Because at that point, they're just being sarcastic. And I'm like, I'm ready to say, all right, fine, I will take it out. Because that's kind of dumb. That's just somebody, that's the emotionally attached seller. Mm-hmm. Because they think their stuff is worth something more. It's worth what somebody's going to pay you. Mm-hmm. If I show up and I say, hey, I'll give you $50 for all this, and they say it's worth more than that, but no one else makes them an offer, guess what? It's not worth more than that. Yeah, there might be another buyer out there somewhere who'll buy it one day, one yard sale. But I don't know if you guys have how much you've yard sale, but if you have the first yard sale of the season, you got a lot of good crap to get rid of, and you do pretty well. Sometimes by the second yard sale, you tend to not do quite as well because you've kind of gotten rid of all the gems and, maybe there's a few nice things left. You just didn't find a great seller. And then by the third yard sale of the season, you do personally, you're down to like junk. Like you're like, I just want to get rid of this crap. And so that's always important to remember. Let's see what other questions were. Kaaren, the point you made about taking a certain amount of money is an excellent point. I think about that and take small bills. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important because you can't wheel and deal with only 20s in your pocket. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta do that. Yeah, and that's a good point because you can always, and by the way, that's an old trick that let's say you want to buy something and the buyer has $30 on it. And you say, and you're willing to pay 20. And you say, well, would you take 15? They're like, no, I can't do it for that. And then you pull out the $20 bill and say, all right, I can do 20. Now you've shown them the money, and psychologically that gives you an edge because now they can envision it and see it coming to them. And even though it's on a subconscious level, that can be impactful and can make a deal. And say, look, I can do 20. And you're literally holding the money up. They know then you're serious. They're ready to get the money. They're ready to get rid of the item, and you're much more likely to make a deal. So that's just psychology 101. All right. So what other questions or comments we have? There was a bunch we missed and a lot of stuff.
Well,
but
you can scroll backwards if you want. I think the emotion thing, like the seller will sometimes come across. When we first started doing this, I don't like the wheeling and dealing part of it personally. I'm good at it when I want to do it, I guess.
Right.
But I've found that when I get a bad response,
you don't like it at all.
I don't like it at all. Let's just be honest.
Which is interesting.
But I found that when I go and I make an offer and somebody says no to me, I'm done. I'm through. So, do you remember last year the apples game where you said, here, just go ask her this and do this, and I did, and she said no, and I was like, she's not getting my money.
You became emotional about the money.
I did. So if you kind of approach it like it's just sort of a cat mouse kind of thing, it's nothing personal, just sort of get in that mode. It takes some practice, it takes some discipline, but if you're like me and it's sort of not your thing initially, give it some time. You'll get there.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it. Nothing is ever personal. Don't ever let it get personal.
Yeah, because it's not.
Nope.
Illinois Picker says, I want to point out there's not as much left now at the end of the sales day. There's so many pickers now. I don't know if there's any more or less than there ever has been. There's no way to really tell that. And that can be very hit or miss. We've gone to yard sales as late as like noon before, and they'll say, yeah, we've only had 3 or 4 people come by. Mm-hmm. It really just depends. And sometimes that's a good strategy. Now it can be a little bit trickier because you're taking a risk, but you can pinpoint that one yard sale that doesn't have a great ad or doesn't have a lot of photos and is out in the middle of nowhere and go to it. And we've scored some deals with those because guess what? Other people are looking at that and they're going, well, I don't know what they got there. Mm-hmm. So they decide not to go. So now you've kind of got it all to yourself. That's not always going to work, but it's worth a shot every now and then, especially if you're already kind of near it and you can justify spending a few minutes. But it really just depends. I mean, if it's a neighborhood sale, you're right. I mean, people are usually going to go through and hit kind of all the streets. And, we see the same people out we'll run into them in one neighborhood, and then the next neighborhood we'll run into them again. The next neighborhood, we're like, oh, it's those people. And Karen's so funny because there will be like people at a yard sale, and then there'll be somebody we've seen in another one behind us, and she'll like, hurry up so we beat them. And I'm like, yeah, but those people are already beat. She's like, I don't care about them. I just want to beat the people behind us.
I told you, there's a lot of bit of a competitive aspect to this. And it's all, it goes back to grabbing all the thingies and all that. But I do pay attention. And I sort of tag, people that I decide are our competition. But these sales and the order that you do them, isn't it all sort of like a crapshoot? You don't know. So
right.
you do your best. You're going to pick what you think based on the information that you've been given is going to be your best opportunity. For us, we love these church yard sales. That doesn't mean all of them are that great.
Right.
And we have the church that's literally right across the street from us. I don't even know if they're going to have one this year. Because it hasn't been.
We haven't seen it yet.
We haven't seen, and usually they're really good. So maybe they do an every other year kind of thing. But you just have to put yourself, I think the first big step is you have to put yourself out there and get your feet wet and, because not everybody's looking for the same thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've seen other pickers at the sales we've been in walk right by clothing items, for instance, that were just awesome. you know, and you're going, they just don't know, or they're not looking for that. And that's fine. The other day at the, this isn't a yard sale story, but the other day at the Ben's store here in Charlotte, we were going in the little boutique, and I found these, what was that brand? Nason, I think was the name of it.
The fancy shoes?
Yeah, these shoes, they're really cool looking. Like I'd never heard of the brand before. And I asked a friend, and he's like, man, if you don't buy them, I will. And, you know, they go for some pretty good money, probably maybe $100. And they were marked down for the third time for 15. And as I'm standing in line, this older gentleman behind me says, oh, you got my shoes. I was like, oh, did you want these? And he's like, I've been watching them for a couple weeks now. And we were there the same day, but I just happened to get to him before he did. And he was ready to buy them at that price. But, you know, they were only $19.99 the week before. So really, and he might have been wanting, and he claimed he wanted to buy them just to wear them, but I'm suspicious.
He was just a nice man, because I chatted him up, as I do just about anybody I encounter when we're out and about. And he, bless his heart, he said, you know, if you look those up on the internet, they go for $50. And I was like, really? Yeah. I'm like, really? They do? He said, yes, they do. And he said, I buy shoes here all the time. And in his case, he was going to wear them to church. And they were this really fancy alligator skin, big old shoe. But I believe he was telling the truth. And he meant well, because, you know.
He missed out on them because he was waiting to get rock bottom, just thinking. And that's always the risk, you know, like if you see something good at one of these sales, grab it. Even if you decide not to buy it right at that moment, grab it and hold on to it for a moment. So you can get a moment to kind of look it up, or at least it's great when you have two people too, because Kaaren sometimes will tell me about something and then I can go look it up, and that doesn't look like anything because I have nothing in my hand but my phone. So it's not really clear that she's, you know, a picker or a thrifter, and I'm over there looking it up, and then I can say yay or nay, and and then she can just decide to put it back or keep it. So that always helps if you've got two people. You know, and it's a good time to get out. It's also exercise, right? You're out in the fresh air. There's that exercise again.
See, you're not being entirely honest when we're like that one church sale.
It's great.
Like, I grab all the thingies. I know we joke about that, but I think you're just being too nice. So when we go to these sales, or when we go to stores, sometimes I have been known to just put it in the cart. Like this, when we went to this church sale last year, when we first came in, the electronics were on the left, and I kid you not, I've come by it honestly, but there's all these guys around me. And so I took down the VCR from the way up high, and the DVD from here, and the camera from here. And I had to hoard this pile, and I made this pile, and I wouldn't. And so I'm standing there like blocking everybody off.
And I came over and we got it knocked out.
And we did. But sometimes you have to do that, you know, and we'll talk about estate sales, because that's coming up for us too. And a separate time, but you just kind of have to mark your territory and take a moment and take your time and do what you have to do. And if you have a partner,
right,
that can, you know, as your security force or whatever backup, that can come in handy too.
Yeah, and it's nice to have that extra set of eyes, set of hands, you know, ability to research, just all those things. So if you can take somebody with you, take them. Take another family member, if nothing else, you know. Ben comes with us.
Yeah, and helps.
Ben's come with us several times, and he's gotten things here and there, I think, too, from some of these sales.
Yeah, he's got a great eye for that kind of stuff.
Not getting there early enough for a sale. Yeah, I mean, some people love it when you come early and buy, and others hate it. It's really hit or miss whether you want to show up early to say. You can show up early, but do you actually go in their driveway or whatever? If they're not out there, I wouldn't probably go knock on the door.
Go knock on the front door and say you're here to join them for coffee.
Yeah, it's like, I know I'm an hour and a half early, but do you guys want to sell me some stuff yet? And they're like, get out of here. So you got to play that part by ear if you get there too early.
Well, do you remember the guy last year that was just up the street that, kid you not, he put in his ad that his sale wasn't going to start until noon?
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
And we got there. I don't know what time we got there. I think we might have gotten there at 11:30. And of course, more aggressive buyers had gotten there before us, and they had already pressured him into. And so by the time we got there, still perceivably earlier than we should have been, he said, "Yeah, people came and they bought all my stuff."
I know, right? You got to remember, guys, the people who are running these yard sales are just everyday people, and they're not professional merchants or retailers for the most part. and they've got their own reasons, whether it's, you know, why they want to get rid of this stuff. And you just got to figure what it is. And once you do that, you know what to do. You know whether to stay, you know whether to make an offer, whether to offer, try to get a bundle, to offer to get it all, whatever the situation is. But it's about time. So if you stop at somebody's yard sale for, we're usually not at a sale. I don't think we're at 5 minutes at a lot of them.
Nope.
We're there and gone in maybe 2-3 minutes at most. It doesn't take long with most of them to look through everything they have and just move on. I mean, there's, you know, if it doesn't look good to the naked eye right away, it's probably not that good. I mean, I found a great projector there in one of them last year that was new. It was pretty much new. I mean, it hadn't really been used. It was still in the original packaging, but some of the packaging had been open, and flipped that for like $385 after paying the guy $20 for it. You know, so because it was an older projector and he didn't think it was worth as much anymore. He just wanted to get rid of it. He just wanted a $20 bill. He didn't care. But if he would have been attached to that projector, he probably would have tried to get $150 out of me. Or if he'd have been an overpriced seller, he absolutely would be like, oh, this is going on Amazon for $385.
There would have been a printout from Amazon, right?
Yeah. So you got to figure out who you're dealing with. And when he said his first, you know, and that's the thing, like if you ask him how much for something and the price is crazy high, you know you're dealing with overpriced or emotional. If it's crazy low, you might be dealing with a get rid of it seller, or maybe it's even the junk seller.
Or it's even broken.
Yeah.
But no matter what you're searching for, I think that all of us can find value in yard sales, whether it's hard goods, electronics, clothing, whatever. And how we step into our yard sale adventure is pretty much the same, right? You have to prepare for it, do your research, make sure you have everything in order to take with you. Your execution of it, how you go about, you know, conquering the yard sale and grabbing all the thingies, and you know, your timing and how you pitch it, how you bid, how you negotiate, how you read people. And you know, the important thing is there shouldn't be emotion on either side. It's all part of the game. And
somebody was saying about attaching eBay sheets on their stuff, certain people. I just tell people, say, look, I understand that, but selling on eBay is a bit of a hassle and comes with an expense. I'm here offering you cash, and if it doesn't work or it's not what you say it is, I have no recourse. I'm done. It's over. I'm going to take it with me, and we're done with this transaction. So for that reason alone, I'm offering a lower than eBay price because I have all this risk. I'm ready to, and I don't really say it exactly like that, but basically I'm just wanting to give them cash for their item and we move on, and they don't have to go through the trouble of packing and shipping and listing and photographing and all that.
Well, and that's a good, you bring up a good potential way to overcome that objection from the seller. Like, let's say they have the eBay printout there. You know, somebody mentioned earlier, and I'm guilty of it, you know, the playing dumb mentality. Make it whatever works for you, ladies and gentlemen. But when you see an eBay or an Amazon ad for something, you can say, so then you'll give me my money back when I take this home if it doesn't work. Because that's what Amazon does. And just give them the big doe-eyed look when you say it. And they're like, well, no. And then we're like, then you can say, well, you know, then
it's not really an eBay deal.
No, we're not talking about the same thing level. So let's talk about this for real. You want to sell it, I want to buy it. Here's what I can offer you.
Right.
And start
or better
from
yet,
there.
what can you offer me?
Or you know, so there's different ways, you know, to sort of get there.
Whoever mentions a price first loses.
Oh yeah. Whoever,
it's always that's a truism in real estate as well. So, you know, if they've already put one price on and you say, all right, well, what's the lowest you would take? Now you're going to get them even lower. So then you can negotiate from there. And so, you know, that's just an old trick as well. And it works, especially if you're buying something that's more expensive, which is obviously going to have more risk and so on. If it's really cheap, if somebody's offering to sell me something for $10 that I know is worth $100, I'm not going to sit there and argue with them for $8 or $7.
Yeah, you're really fair.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I think, you know, I know it's worth more than that. Like the guy last year sold me, he sold me like a complete Xbox Rock Band set, guitar, the drums, the pedal, a couple games. And I'm like, what do you want it for? And he's like, $10. I mean, how can I?
And instead of being like, would you take taking from the
Yeah,
$5 pocket, I commend you for that.
Yeah, I'm like, that's fair.
Because you're very fair when somebody offers. Like it's not about bringing the price down. Like for us, it's not, because that continued dickering, if you will, is taking more time, potentially costing us more money. So if the price seems reasonable, just do it, move on. There's another deal to be made. It's not all about winning, like who wins. Like, I'm not going to take it to that level of competitiveness, but if it's fair,
Yeah, you have to assume they want to get rid of it.
Yeah,
they put it for sale. Now, they might be attached to it or overpricing it, but assumingly they want to get rid of it and you want to get it. So let's find a way to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair for both of us, as fair as we can get, and let's move forward. So. Yep. All right, guys. Well, look, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching today. Please leave a question or comment down below. And what else should they do, Kaaren, if they like the content they were watching today?
If you like what you've seen and heard, please consider smashing the like button. Thumbs up. It's Friday. We hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. You'll be back on Monday to talk about how everyone hopefully killed it at yard sales tomorrow.
Yard sales tomorrow.
Because we will be there up and at 'em before the birds start chirping and the sun starts shining.
I'll need a monster.
Yeah, not before bed.
No.
Go to bed early. It says on the list. And then we'll wake up and do what we do. Yeah.
All right. So, well, that's going to do it for now, guys. So good luck tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday. Kaaren less. That sucks. But
it's just a week.
We'll somehow get through it. So
at some point.
Anyway.
Maybe.
Well, I am Prof Sales.
And I'm Kaaren.
Saying good sales to you.